All right, let's see. Do we have volume? We do have volume today. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to what's currently known as the Daily Degen. It's the new show here on Casino Gaming TV. I'm probably going to change the name. We may even talk about that here. I'm sure we will actually in a little bit. But in the meantime, good morning, all, and happy days to a new week. We got let's see, 7 Rocketeer. Looks like Mad Hatter actually. Maybe I'm getting some different names here. Louis here, and Dr. S, of course, is here. Good morning, everybody. And California Craps Club is here. And yeah, let's get after it here. And Undisciplined is here. Papa Chops. Let's talk about a couple things really quick. But before we do, obviously, we're gonna do our reminder, our daily Let's not forget where we live, right? We live in a world of gambling, and you know, tomorrow's show is going to be about what it takes to be, or what it means to be, or if you can be a good gambler. And all this stuff kind of comes into play, right? I think having a firm grasp on goal setting, bankroll, usage, strategy application, risk appetite, identifying whatever opportunity to leave, stay, play, and having strong emotions and a good mindset as you approach things, all of that plays into it. And the thing I always want to say to you all is make sure that as you're, oh God, what happened there? What in the world is going on? I moved my camera. Hold on a second. I gotta change something here. It's cut me off completely. Look at that mess. Wow. Why is it doing that? Do I have to do this? Hold on. Let me go back home. Does that work better? That's better. Okay. Keep it. We'll keep it there. Anyway, all that stuff is so important to me, and I think when you're watching my show or other shows, right? It's like you get fed so much crap and, well, frankly, a lot of lies and BS, right? You've got to make sure you can separate that stuff. Remember I told you the story about my dad? Matter of fact, I've got a jar of pepper sitting here on my desk to remind me to separate the fly shit from the pepper. Here's the jar of pepper that a student gave me, actually. So important, right? When you watch and listen to all the different channels to be able to separate truth from reality and fact from fiction. There's actually a really big thread going on one of the Facebook channels about DI. We'll talk about DI a little bit today. There's always somebody trying to outdo the other person, or like faction people off into truth versus belief and fiction versus reality and that kind of thing. Some things aren't always cut and dry, and also I feel like the underlying chatter behind some of these things is more self-serving than actually fact-based or fact gathering. So anyway, a lot of people out there with a lot of agendas, right? So make sure that you're paying attention to what, not what you want to hear, but filter through those lenses. Anyway, on the docket, what's brewing around town here? We have the Craps for the Cure coming up very, very soon. It's about 2-3 months away, roughly, right? September 13th weekend at Casino Quest Palace Station. The website's going to be opened up probably tomorrow, actually, to have you start registering for the event and getting those discount codes to be able to come in and stay at Palace for a 25% off. Big AZ is going to be in Vegas right after that, September 28th to October 3rd in Vegas. And right after that is Casino Tier. So it all kind of steamrolls here. A big fall out there in Vegas for everybody. And of course, I've got a cruise coming up. There's Dice Cruise coming up. I'll talk more about Dice Cruise here in October soon. A lot of things happening kind of all pretty quick, which is pretty cool. So, yeah, all right. Joe's agenda is to teach and have fun, right? My agenda is to teach and preach safety. That's what it's all about, right? I'm not trying to teach anybody how to win $1 million. I'm not here trying to spout off about how great of a win I've had or how big of wins you ought to be having and how you should be 500. No, I'm talking about playing safe, right? And enjoying the game more because you're losing less. That's what I want to get us all to. So anyway, all right, there's the major updates now. I do want to talk a little bit about Palace Station about Craps for the Cure. A couple things I want to talk about today. One is reminder of the dates, September 13th and 14th at Casino Quest at Palace Station. Again, when you register for the event, you'll pay the $100 to register for the event. The system will email you back the code that you use to register at Palace Station. So they're going to give us a special code number that when you go to block your room, you'll type the code in, you get the discount. So that's coming up. Now, the format's going to be a little different for this year's event. We talked about this. We're going to take donations directly for the dog. So we're not going to do random $10 here, $5 there. We're actually going to put prices up and saying like, the dog collars, or the harness thing is whatever, $115, and the dog food is $75. Whatever the numbers are for all the different parts that we need, all the different materials that we need to raise these 2 dogs that we've purchased now for the next 2 years. That's the donation target this time. We're going to actually have like a product list or an itemized list of what you can do. There will be some random things you can bid on, right? Custom whiskey bottles. There'll be a very, very few high dollar auction items, and it's going to be a lot more having fun, a lot less interview. Like we've always done this thing where I've interviewed people for 24 hours and it's like, it's cool, but we've asked all the questions already. So what I want to get into this year is more fun. And so I want to take a quick, like kind of seat of the pants poll here from everybody. So just kind of, as you're watching the show here, and there are 20 something people watching live right now, if you come back and watch later on in the replay, put it in chat what you think you'd like to see more of. Okay. I'm planning on doing quite a bit more table time. So rolling the dice, betting. And one thing I talked to Bo Parker. He's going to be a part of this thing, of course. I talked to him on Friday, and something we had chatted about was this idea of like, what if somebody else threw the dice? What if it was me or whoever? It doesn't really matter who throws. Shooter X throwing the dice, and the camera's on the betting area, right? And we just let Bo bet those rolls and talk through what he's doing. Like, I'm going to start with the pass line. We're going to do the little parlay thing. And as the rolls are coming, what is he looking at, right? As he sees the dice come out, and what is his betting pattern going to be like as a result? Some shooters, we can make them random, right? And some shooters can be controlled. So what I want to get to is like watching him, assess what a person's doing, or assess the rolls that he sees and how is he betting that set of rolls. The same thing later on with Tony Leo. The same thing later on with David. The same thing later on with me, with whoever else. Maybe we can do 4 or 5 of these things throughout the course of the couple days of watching, teachers or the guys that run the clinics play against live rolls live and talk through it. That would be fun. We could do it where it's only guests. So you're at the event, you've paid your money to be in. Maybe you go up there and we just have you bet, right? It's just an attendee gets to play by themselves. Same thing. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? We'll kind of interview you as we go and learn your story. Could be both teacher and player at the same time, right? Like Bo and you both going, not head to head necessarily, but we can talk through what you're seeing. And that's, I think, kind of an interesting way of approaching some of the table time, right? We can get some interesting questions asked while we're doing that, but really it's about teaching. So again, in chat, let me know what you think you would rather see. What sounds more interesting to you, right? Teacher only, player only, or both, kind of maybe going at it a little bit and sort of, not going at it like combatively, but like more feedback, like, oh, I didn't think of that or whatever else. So think through what sounds interesting. I'd love to see what you all would like to see that. So, all right. Let's see. Gary says, I'm just reading over here. Gary, last Wednesday's lesson was my best on gold. Oh, the gold tier lesson was great. Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. I thought about that actually the morning of. I was having coffee and I'm like, you know what? I want to talk about this because David at Casino Quest talks gold tiers all the time, but never really explains detailed what he's talking about. They're looking at bankroll. Like when my bankroll hits a certain number, I'm at a new betting tier level and I can go higher, right? Bankroll goes higher, new betting tier. I look at gold tiers as the roll progresses, right? I think it was a fun talk to have because I may even pull the video out of that one and put that up in ProCraft's channel because it was actually, I thought it was a good talk to you. Thanks, Gary. Let's see what else here. So Lou, some names from the morning show. That's, you know what? You're actually one slide ahead of me, Lou. I don't know how you knew this, but here we go. The Daily Degen needs a new name. I can't use Chris's name. Everybody thinks it's Chris, even though he blessed the show name. This week it'll be called Daily Degen. I'm changing the name. So here's another poll for you, right? Louis got some names. He has Craps Insight Morning Edition, the Morning Roll Call, which I love that one. I love Morning Roll Call. Craps Table Talk and the Craps Briefing. I've actually got table talk as one of my ideas too. So here's the ideas that I came up with over the weekend. We have Pit Stop, which I think is cool. The Gamble Cast, which is kind of cool. Table Talk. We have two people now who like that one. House Edge Live, I think, is kind of a cool morning show name. And Live from the Rail is also a good one. Live from the Rail is good for us craps players. We all get the joke there, but other people, other games may not, right? So it could be like Live from the Chip Rack or something like that. But anyway, there's some names up there that I've kind of thought of. Lou's got a name out there. If you all have some ideas, this is a great time to drop them in chat, right? Put a Q in front of it or a PC in front of it with a show name idea, like Lou did, and give me your thoughts. Whatever you're thinking of, put it out there, and let's just kind of talk through it. And maybe by the end of the week, I'll put a final poll up on like Thursday, and we'll settle in on the new show name, and I'll make a new logo and stuff. Remember, I'm going on a cruise, right? So I'm leaving Friday or Thursday night rather for my cruise, and I come back in a week. So no show for a week after this one. When we come back, I'll have it all rebranded, and we'll have a new thing. But yeah, I think the Daily Degen was a failed attempt at a cool name. Let's find something better. Casino Talk with Johnny. There we go. And Joe also says we would like both player versus teacher as long as controlled. Exactly. And what you'll have is a microphone there on the table. So part of the problem we have, Joe, and you know, when I was with David on those shows, the biggest problem we have is microphone chatter, right? There's delays and weirdness. If we're there at the table and the microphone is well controlled, and I'm picturing in here somebody like with a boom arm, like having the mic over top of the talking head so they can hear better, or we can all hear better. And yes, making it a controlled ooh, Tales from the Rails. That's good. If it was only storytelling that I was doing, that'd be a great name. I love that one, James. That's awesome. That's fantastic. All right, let's get our last little bit of meat in here before we get out for the morning. Jacob from Wait For This put a video out a couple days ago, which was great. And of course, all this happens. It seems like these things kind of happen, and it's funny because the DI debate happens at the same. Like, it seems like there's like a for whatever reason, all these discussions happen at one time. Don't know why, but Jacob did a show the other night talking about, it was live, about his thoughts on DI, which I thought was fantastic. He was like, I play from the don't, right? He plays a hybrid system from the don't. And we can all picture this in our heads. Again, I don't have a craps table to show you, but picture in your head like a $75 don't and 66 inside. Very simple betting, right? Let's just pretend the point's 4 or 10 for the sake of argument. Points 4, you go 66 inside and a $75 don't, which is the perfect hybrid, right? You got more money on the don't than you do on your right side bets. So if the 7 comes quick, whatever you make, if you make $9, $10, whatever it is, that's fine, right? But really the goal there, right? Although it is to win on the don't, Jacob describes himself as a don't player. The goal is to win on the don't. The goal is also to make money, right? Make money on those right side bets. So what's the secret to that, right? The secret to making money in a hybrid is not having a little bit of don't protection. We talked about this last week. I think I kind of made Skill mad with it, but I believe very strongly that the problem with hybrid play is that nothing is clean. There's no clean wins, because even if you win 2 right side bets, $20 and $20, and then you get a 7, it kind of washes it out a little bit, right? What you want, right, is a long right side win, and then the 7 cleans up the mess at the end, right? Or gets an extra $75 at the end, right? Unless you're predisposed to say, look, I'm going to go 66 inside. I'm going to take 2 hits for $40, pull my bets down, and let the don't pass right out, right? And try and get $140 out of the hand, or whatever, 130 out of the hand. That's not a bad approach. If you're going to play hybrid, get that don't out there, get a couple 2-3 hits, stop the betting, and let the don't finish the day, and rinse and repeat. That's fine, okay? But really what Jacob wants to do is to have those numbers hammer, right? Hammer the inside as long as you can, and then when the 7 comes, you get a little bit of extra juice at the end, right? That's what he's saying. So what he does, Joe tried it today, right? Is setting the dice. Jacob wants to set the dice in a way that would avoid the point, right? Not just because he wants, because if honestly, if you wanted the 7 to win, you just set for the 7 and hope that you get a 7, right? He wants to just avoid the point, right? He knows he can't stop the 7, but let's not roll any 4s or roll any 5s or roll any whatevers that you got. So he sets the dice in a way where like the point numbers are on the insides and, you know, or on top rather. And then when he gets that double pitch action, he's not getting the point to show up, which is a complete reversal of how most people think when they're betting the don't. And when you're doing DI, they're trying to avoid the 7 to keep the roll going. He's trying to avoid the point, so the don't pass stays up and is active forever while he's hammering the numbers. I think that's an interesting way to kind of flip the bit a little bit, right? So using whatever influence you got to not avoid the 7, but avoid the point so your don't stay strong. It's very, very interesting way of thinking. Now, as Joe says, it didn't work for him, right? It didn't work for Joe. I don't suggest that everybody tries this. I'm just saying that it was interesting that Jacob's mind went there. Like, let's go ahead and like, what's best for my game? Well, if I'm on the don't, what's best for my game is to never hit the point, right? So let me set the dice so I can't hit the point. And since I'm not going to hit the point and my don't's going to be alive for a while, why don't I make some money elsewhere while that's going on? This is an interesting way of kind of threading the needle. You know what I mean? And I think that we're all in this game ultimately trying to thread the needle. That's kind of what this comes down to. We're trying to find different ways of solving the unsolvable puzzle. And that's Jacob's way of looking at it, which I think, again, it's pretty cool. Now, over on Facebook, and I don't know which group it's in. I think it's in the Crap Strategies group. That's the Craftsman's group. Some guy put out a post, and he's been trying this. He's been trying to stir the pot for a while, but he put a post out there, and the thumbnail of the post is, you know, science, fact, reality, belief, faith, fiction, right? And he's like, let's get real about dice control, right? And then he frames the conversation in such a way that he wants us to really dive in and give him answers, right? And I said what I always say, and I luckily now I've got it, right? I've got my perfect answer to this whole thing. And I always am marveled at the why. Why do people care so much about disproving it? I'll never understand that. It's like I've had this conversation with JB and some others about it, you know, and you know, there's a world where flat Earth, right, or the people who think that we didn't land on the moon, right? The conspiracy theorists. There are people who believe that the Earth is flat. People who believe that we didn't land on the moon. People who believe that 9/11 was an inside job. All this stuff, right? And I've always been like, it's whatever. It makes me personally sad, maybe, that they don't believe in the reality of you know, provable fact or whatever. But what's the difference? I don't care if somebody believes that we didn't land on the moon. It doesn't change anything. Like, they can believe that, and it doesn't matter. So if somebody believes they can control the dice, or somebody's a DI proponent, right? It doesn't matter. But what you find is that when somebody asks the question, here comes 50 people that not only jump into, you don't understand physics and math and blah, 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 but they're really assholes about it. So my take on DI anymore, the argument against DI is this. I don't know that I believe that it's viable. Okay, now let's use two words. It's absolutely possible. Okay, I've shown video. I'm the only person on the fucking planet that has shown video of their dice maintaining facial integrity throughout the hit on the table, the back wall hit, and the second table hit. I'm the only person who's ever shown it. That doesn't mean I'm a boss at dice control. Matter of fact, I'm not very good. So I can only do that once in a while, right? But I've proven that you can overcome the physics of the diamonds and make this work perfectly. So I can combat that argument and say, bullshit, the physics is possible. The back wall doesn't matter if you can do this throw, right? It doesn't matter. The back wall, actually, I looked for the back wall, right? So I can say the physics argument to me goes out the window. And all of it to me boils down to who cares, right? If doing it get somebody's mind in a good spot so they can execute their bets and stay in the moment, and it keeps them focused, then so what? Let the person stay focused. It doesn't matter. But the fact that you're going to come out, or some people come out so negatively against it, just for the sake of being negative, or the sake of kind of swooping in on their little parachute and kind of, dominating the party with their so-called expertise, those people make me want to defend DI more than explore the physics of it. Like, I want to take all these deep dives into it and really get, I want to get the guy on that made the machine and everything else. It makes me just want to give everybody the finger and say, you know what? You're just a bunch of assholes. And now I want to be on the side of the DI, like fully in on the DI, just because you're being such a dick about the way that you come at it. And the more of these articles I read, I end up landing more on the emotional side of this thing. Like, God, just shut up already, right? And now I want to go and lean in on the other side of it, right? I'm enjoying my journey, trying to figure it out, and I enjoy doing my videos and trying to get better at it. And again, I don't know that it's viable. I know it's possible. I don't know if it's viable as a way to layer my bets on top of any kind of skill I may have. I'm not there yet. And I would actually have the argument, yeah, DI is possible, but is it a viable way to win? I don't know. I don't think so at this point, with me anyway. But there's so much ugliness from the other side. I just want to punch them all the time. And I get so pissed off at the attitude and the holier than thou attitude that comes down that it just drives me nuts. So if I do shows on this coming up, or if you see me out there on Facebook lighting somebody up about it, this is why I'm lighting somebody up about it, right? And Dr. S, great point. Why does somebody care if people pay the don'ts? It shouldn't matter, right? There are folks that believe, and Gargoyle is a good friend of mine, he's one of them, that believe that you're betting the don't, you're changing table energy, okay? Some people, like myself and like Jacob, are betting the don't as a math play, right? I've got money on it, on a bet that's going to win, most likely, right? And I'm using that as a way, because again, if I go out there 320 and no don't, take a hit, regress to 160, take a hit, regress to 64 and play it out, I'm doing a protective thing. I'm running from the 7 as we go with a lot more money at risk. The guy from the don't is doing the same thing. He's going out there with a decent sized don't bet, betting the inside at the low level to start, also avoiding the 7 or using the 7 as part of his play to get those right side bets going, right? They're both players doing the same thing. One guy's got bankroll to regress down, one guy doesn't and has to start from the bottom, but he uses a don't to protect it. It's okay. Like, that's not rooting for the 7. That's having a no shit bet out there for a lot of people while they're making their money and then getting out, right? So there's to me, there's both sides of that thing, right? And I think that this formation of like the magnets, like where they can magnets, what that the phenomenon where the magnets can't touch, right? Whatever that is called, that's what you have here. And like I said, the people on one side are such dicks. I just want to take the other side because, right? Like, don't be a dick about it, right? You can have the argument that I don't think your physics work. And I think that, you're wasting your time by doing it, but it's up to you. What people now say is the physics don't work, the math don't work, and you're a fucking asshole because you're doing it. And you don't even deserve my time, right? When you watch the snarky stuff that people say in these groups about it, it's just so freaking off-putting, right? It's just so freaking off-putting. Yeah. Oh, Running from the 7 is a good name for the show. That's actually interesting. Running from the 7. I like that one too. All right. We got about 3 minutes left. So any other ideas you have for the show name, right? Put it in here. Any more ideas you have for Craps for the Cure in terms of like, how would you like to see people betting, playing when we're doing table time, like camera on the table while somebody's doing something? What else do you want to see, right? Give me some more ideas on that. We have some, I think, but could always use more ideas, right? All right, let's get out of here. I think I got one more thing to say. Don't I have one more thing to say? Let's see here. Yeah, the last thing is this. So tomorrow, we're gonna answer the question: can you be a better gambler? The answer to that is yes. And the math people are their heads are going to explode when I even mention the idea that you can be a better gambler. What this is going to boil down to, by the way, and maybe you can think about this. Come tomorrow with your stuff in chat. How can you be a better gambler? What does it take to be a better gambler? I will tell you this. The first step, I'll give you a little teaser for tomorrow's show. The first step to being a better gambler is not being a worse gambler. That's the first step. You can be a better gambler by not being a bad gambler. That's the first thing, right? The casino has that edge on us, right? Let's do what we can do not to increase their edge, right? Better gamblers keep the edge where it is, right? Worse gamblers make the edge wider, and so you can be a better gambler. So there's that, and I'll leave you with my real final thoughts. Our inspiration station for this week, okay? This was given to me by a don't pass player. This is when I first learned how to play. I was like 22 or whatever, right? And I've told you a story where the dealer told me to stand by the guys with all the black chips and find out what they're doing. He said, those guys have black chips, see what they're doing. One of those guys said this to me: if you bet the same shit every time, you ain't going to win shit anytime. I'll never forget that quote. And his message to me there was a flat betting, right? If you just flat bet the don't, you're going to get crushed. You cannot flat bet the don't. And that's where they made money. This is where I learned how to do parlays and up and pulls, right? In the early days, right? Take the wins, increase them, or go from 100 to 25, and then 25 to 50, 50 to 75, 70, right? Play the streaks on the don't, but bet hard, right? If you don't lean into things that are happening or pull back when it's not going your way, you got no shot of winning, right? If you bet the same shit every time, you ain't going to win shit anytime. And that, again, like all my inspirational quotes, it works in gambling, it works in craps, it works in every game we play, it works in your life too. If you do the same shit every day, you're not going to get anywhere, right? You don't want to be a cog in this machine. You don't want to be treading on the treadmill of life, right? It's the same. It works every day. So there it is, guys. You all have a great Monday. Starts for our week. We got 3 more shows. No show Friday. I'll be on the boat, and we'll be back in a week with a new show name. Keep thinking of the ideas. Good show name ideas, good CFCT ideas, and I will see you tomorrow for another one. In the meantime, have at it. Good luck. God bless y'all. Bye.